Hey, what is up? This is an EM1 buyer's guide for the year 2023. I have a bunch of videos on my channel of Honda Insights Generation 1s, which there's one right there. My current one. I've had 4 of those. But in any case, having bought four and owned 3, and repaired a bunch more than that, I've learned a few things about that car. So I made a video about the Gen 1 Insights a while back that was kind of like a buyer's guide, because I've had so many people kind of running deals by me saying, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And so now that I'm into this platform, I thought it would be cool to make a similar video and just talk about what I've learned. I've been in the EM world for just 10 days now, 10, 11 days I've had this car. But I did a ton of research before buying this and kind of learned a lot about like the current market. Of course, everything I'm saying is subject to change in a second, but this is kind of the current market for the summer of 2023. These cars have been going up in value. Pretty nice, in a pretty good way. And so, so this is a buyer's guide for, some of you folks who might be looking for one. There's a lot of people looking. It's crazy how popular these are getting. And they are increasing in value significantly. So we'll just start. I've basically looked at a bunch of ads I'm going to show you here on Facebook Marketplace, mainly a couple on Auto Trader, and then kind of got like 5 different versions of the EM1 you can find these days. And so you've got the Shell or Mechanic Special, you've got the Beater, you've got the Solid Runner, you've got the Head Turner, and you've got the Collectible. So I'm going to talk briefly about each of those and show you some examples here on Marketplace, and then use my car as an example for a few things. So we'll start with the Shell. So this is the car you see that, it calls itself a Mechanic Special. These prices, again, all this is subject to change, but this kind of, goes anywhere from, a car that's being parted out, so you're just paying for parts, up to about $5,000. These cars usually are not running or they're barely running. So this is a great example of one of those right here on Marketplace. These are all current. This is all, it's July 29, 23. And so all these cars are for sale right now. So this is that first category, Shell Mechanic Special. The guy's asking $1,200, dropped to $1,100, dropped to $750. As you can see, the car obviously is not running, and pretty beat, parts only. And I mean, even the parts like these, that's just in horrible condition. And so you'll see a lot like this. That car is completely gutted. But still the guy's asking $750 for it. So there's a lot of cars like that, that are parted out, and these cars are just beat by people over the years. And so that's kind of the first category, is just the Shell or the Mechanic Special. And I've seen Shells all the way up to $8,000, but it's perfect. It's got no engine, no transmission, no interior, but it's brand, freshly painted. And someone's asking $8,000 for it. So it's a weird world in terms of the sales of these. So this next one is, this kind of is like kind of somewhere between the Shell and the Mechanic Special, and then the Beater. The Beater is the car. It's got bad paint. It's abused. It's fast and furious. It's usually has some kind of engine and transmission issues. Usually a salvage title, lots of rust, and often over 200,000 miles. So this kind of fits into that. It's a little lower in that price there. But, the guy here, he says bought to restore, but he don't have time or money. Classic story. But this car is just beat. I mean, you can look at these pictures. That paint is gone. And that's what these cost. Like a running car that probably has some issues, may have a few good things. You can look at this picture. The entire valve cover is the paint's worn off. So that tells you something. And again, it's just a roller. It runs. It's got really high miles, needs a ton of work. That's usually, again, I've seen 5, 6, 7,000. I think I got another example of what I'd call the Beater. Yeah, this is another one. So this guy's had this car for sale for a long time, and had a misfire. He's asking $5,000. I think it used to be $6,000. And got a misfire. Has some rust. Was up north at one point. No power steering. No air conditioning. Of course, he got the car like that. Has the bolt-ons, and it's just, you can just look at these pictures and tell, it's got the, it's dirty, And look at the gauge cluster, it's aftermarket. So this car's got 205,000 miles. This is what I would call, again, another of the beater category. And really, I mean, I looked at a lot of these in 5,000 to 7,000. That's just what you're gonna pay, unless you get lucky and you're in the right place at the right time. That's what the prices are right now. I have heard exceptions. And then, so this is next category, number 3 here is what I'd call the solid runners. These are good cars that, you know, they're not perfect, but they probably have a lot of miles, but they're, you know, they're running good. I wrote here decent or good paint, around 200,000 miles plus or minus, restorable, mostly solid. Usually have some minor rust. This car fits into that category here. It's got 205,000 miles, has an engine swap, which that bothers me because these engines should last forever, unless they're abused. So that was probably abused. Blah, blah, blah. Car isn't perfect, 23 years old, has dings, blah, blah, blah. Has some rust, he says here, in the quarter panels, but the car looks decent. So I call this the solid runner. And, you know, these are, again, 5,000 to 7,000 bucks. In general, the car looks good. Of course, pictures are deceiving, but it looks pretty good. But again, with the rust, with the mileage, with the engine swap, you just got to kind of wonder what you're getting into here with a car like this. But again, that's about $7,000. So I've seen several of these in that price range, $7,000 to $10,000. Usually they're nice. So the next category is, you know, going back to that, like number 3, the solid runner. That's kind of where a lot of people are at. You don't want to go crazy spending over $10,000 on one of these. I mean, that's a lot of money for one of these cars, for a Honda Civic. So, you know, that's kind of where a lot of cars at. I've noticed, like, there's a lot of cars in that $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, you know, $8,000, $9,000 price range. When you start getting over 10,000, and as I say this, one actually sold on Cars and Bids yesterday for only $9,000. It was like $9,300, and it was a nice car, had low mileage, looked really good. Had some sketchy things in terms of the background. It hadn't been like driven much at all in 14 years, but it did sell for only $9,000, and it only had like 106,000 miles. So who knows what's up with that car? That could be an outlier, but I'm just talking about in general. If you want a nice one, you're going to pay over 10,000. So I call this the head turner. This is like number 4 here. So we got the shell mechanic special, we got the beater, we got the solid runner, and then we have the head turner. This is a car that's mostly OEM, usually has well under 200,000 miles, has good paint, no issues, has services. This is where you really have to like start thinking about, you know, do I want a car that's serviced? Because all 3 of these guys, they probably have not had a timing belt in 15 years. They probably have rust. They probably have not had a lot of maintenance. They probably don't have matching VINs. They probably have wrecks, maybe even salvaged. Usually there's rust. When you get into this head turner category, and I put $10,000 to $15,000, again, these are all, you know, movable numbers here. It's mostly OEM, like I said, lower miles, good paint, no major issues, serviced. So this is when you start seeing cars that have been serviced. They have timing belt records. They have, you know, maintenance records. Most of the VINs match. It might have a wreck or two, but usually no rust, Southern cars. And here's an example of that. This fella's selling this for $11,500, and it looks really good. 2000 SI, 200,000 miles, but it's got lots of hardware, maintenance. You know, he's got all the records, blah, blah, blah. So he's asking $11,500 or $9,500 without his upgrades. And so that's what I call the head turner. We got another head turner here. And let's just click. This one's 16,000. And this picture is blurry for some reason. There we are. So this is a nice looking car, $16,000. Again, this is that head turner, 10 to 15,000 or so. You know, and this, you know, it's just a really clean, good looking car. Very valuable. I mean, look at the valve cover, it looks really good. And then looking at the specs on this one, it had really good miles. 108,000 miles, runs good, timing belt's been replaced, we assume, you know, recently. And so, you know, that's a lot of money to pay. And, you know, that's what you're going to pay for a decent car. That's where this car was. This car was actually in what I'd call the number 3 category, but because of maintenance that was done to it, it brought it up to this category. And, you know, you might say, who wants to pay, you know, $10,000 or $15,000 for an EM1 Honda Civic? Well, look at this ad. This is really interesting. I was just looking here, just scrolling down here as we conclude this video. I saw this dude that was, and this is very common. This is very common to find ads like this. Where is he at? Here you go. So this is just a week ago. This fella looking for an exceptionally clean EM1 under $20,000. He prefers blue Wants matching VINs. Mileage, not a concern as long as it has records. No fixer-uppers. Body and paint need to be 9 to 10. Blah, 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 blah. So that just gives you an idea, and I see ads like this a lot. There's a lot of people willing to spend that kind of money for a nice car, even if it's got some miles. They just want something that's in good shape. So that's what I call the head turner. These are cars that are well maintained. There's no rust on the cars. The paint is good. There's, you know, no major defects or whatever. It might have a fender bender or two, but mostly stock. That's what I have here. This car was in this range of the head turner range, and the previous owners did a lot to it. I've got a list here I just made for the sake of this video. If you're kind of wondering, like, you know, where should I be at if I'm looking to spend this kind of money, you know, this guy. And so this particular car has 177,000 miles, which is getting on the high end, but it runs wonderfully. Cold air. And then you just look at what's been done to the car. It's got new mats, new side decals, a new SI badge, new door handle plastics, ignition switch, has a new battery, and then just all this other stuff that's been done literally in the last 12 months or so. Full CAT system, converter, engine mounts, timing belt, water pump, just the whole service, valve adjustment, new coolant, bushings, axles, lots of suspension parts, new steering rack, blah, blah, blah. And I won't go through all that. And then this is the stuff that I've done to it since I've owned it. So that's what you're getting. You know, you're getting something that's very clean, that looks good like this, that runs really good, has a few issues, might have some miles, but doesn't have any rust, none of that. That's the head turner. And you're going to pay, again, 10 to 15, maybe a little less if you're lucky, maybe a little more, you know, like this guy. And then the final stage here is the collectibles. These are 15 to 40,000. These are perfect cars, low miles, near perfect, no issues, no rust, fully serviced, 10 out of 10. All the VINs are matching. Got a couple crazy examples here of these for sale. This one's 27,900. It has 119,000 miles, and it probably will fetch that. And this is a beautiful car. This is a step above what I have, just in terms of mileage and condition. And then if you really want to go crazy, this fella's got this one listed for 40. I called him, actually. He said he would do 35. It's got, what's the mileage here? 63,000. You know, so 63,000 miles. I mean, this is a cream puff. This is, you know, almost probably a concourse. Incredible condition car. Beautiful, serviced, perfect, you know, 40 grand, he'll take 35. You know, who's going to spend 35 for that? Who knows? Some nuthead might do that, but that's kind of that final collectible. So those are five kind of categories as I see these cars in 2023. If you're looking, again, you might get lucky. But again, this car was in that range, that number 4 range, where, you know, I spent some money on it. It wasn't a ton of money, but it was real money. It wasn't beater money. It wasn't fixer-upper money. The car is intact. A few little things, but for the most part, it's solid, and it runs really, really well. Almost stock. So that's my EM1 buyer's guide for 2023. I hope it's been helpful. I'll be doing some test drives and some more videos on this car because you know, just only had it a week or so. But I thought I would start with this one, just kind of sharing what I've learned for some of you folks that might be getting excited about these, because these are going up in value and they're getting more and more appreciated. Kind of starting to get into like GSR Type R levels of notoriety and appreciation, and, you know, being sought out. And I'll say this too, the nice ones are hard to find. Like, most of them are in that $5,000 to $10,000 range. That $10,000 to $15,000 range, like these, there aren't many, because they're getting scooped up by people like me that say, I don't want a beater, I don't want something I got to do a ton of work in, I just want something I can get in and drive and have cold air conditioning and no issues, blah, 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 and it looks great. So those are I think the rarest ones, is because that's a price point that's still affordable, but you get something really nice for it. Anyhow, I will conclude with that, and appreciate you watching. Would love to hear commentary on these awesome cars. This is the 2000 Civic Si EM1 Buyer's Guide. All right, thanks for watching. Peace. Take care. God bless you.